Hi there, I'm David Regal, and thank you for getting the crystal billet box. I think you're really going to enjoy having this prop, using it, and finding interesting ways to use it. I'd like to take a moment to tell you where it came from, because even though I sort of went to various companies to try and get this done just right, with just the right materials, it's based on something I found at a swap meet. Believe it or not, I found this at a swap meet. It was just in a box. And what is this? Well, let's take a look at what this is with the original instructions from Supreme Magic in the UK. It's a see-in card box credited to no one. But here's how it works. Things are put into this box. They can be seen through a clear lid. It looks a little silly, I know. And by the box doing its magic, all the billets in there are switched, or whatever you've put in there. It'll be a flat thing, though, because here's how it works. There's really, well, let me turn it over, a duplicate of the top on the bottom and the bottom on the top. See that? And this bottom is floating between. And I looked at this, and I thought, well, that's kind of brilliant, because, you know, as you turn around, walk back to the stage, this gets inverted. The bottom floats. So it covers up material and it reveals material. I thought this was just one of the most brilliant things I'd ever seen, based on the principle of a card box, but wow, this clear top makes it seem like nothing could have been switched. And I thought, well, it's, as much as I liked it, it was only really half-baked. I don't mean that in the pejorative sense, it's just not half completed, because for this, you know, to be effective, you have to be showing people the box sort of like this and make sure they're seeing through the top. I thought, well, the whole thing should be clear. We're dealing with flat items anyway, and if the bottom was black and there was a black ornamental stripe, you would have a very beautiful switching device. And that's what this is, the crystal billet box, based on this Supreme billet box. I made it about the same size as well, because I really liked the handling. What you get when you open your box, it's nice, isn't it? All beautifully wrapped up, is the box itself, 4 lids, 2 without slots and 2 with slots. For certain effects, you might like having a slot there. Put your bill in the box. The quieter version is always without the holes, naturally, because it muffles sound. However, in most performing environments, you can certainly perform with a slot. I'm just saying, you know, these are things to be aware of. What else do you get? You get 2 very large rubber bands, which can be used in certain presentations to show that nothing can be tampered with, because the box, of course, can switch items even with rubber bands on. It's meaningless, but it makes it look like you're creating a barrier and nothing can be tampered with. And the other thing you get is a specially designed bag just for use with this box. It's very useful because the box can go in here, cinched, and as it spins around on your way back to the table, you set it down with the reverse side up. So you don't need any cover at all to do the dirty work. How do you know which side of the bag is which? Well, I like to take a little marker, a metallic silver, and make a mark on one side of the bag. So if I put one side in the unmarked side, after I let it spin around, I look for my mark, and that's how I know where to set it on the table, and all the magic takes place in the bag. These are all the items you get, and I'll be teaching you all the basics, because remember, this can be used to force. It can be used to switch, you know, various items. It can be used to make things appear. It can make things disappear. And it can also be used as a prediction chest. I know, it sounds like, really? But you can use this as a prediction chest with honestly free selections or names or things they've called out. And I'll get into all that. We're not going to be running through huge routines. This is a utility item. I'm going to teach you what it does, and I believe all the people that would want to make this investment already have ideas of how they will use this prop. So let's get into it. What you're going to do in the basic switch is simple. You have several little slips. These will be in the audience. They'll be instructed to write whatever you decide they can write, maybe names of celebrities, maybe foods they enjoy. What you've already preset in the box are duplicate slips, but you've written the same thing on every slip. So these are returned to the box. Using one of the techniques that I will be describing to you, on the way back to put this on a table, this gets turned over. And they see apparently the same clear box with papers in it. The black bottom sort of coalesces with that black stripe. So that gives you a little bit of leeway. That bottom can be a little higher, a little bit lower. It just looks like the same clear box with the same items. At this point, you'd have someone from the audience come up with your back turned. They pick one of the slips out. And of course, you know that information. Similarly, here, let's take these out. If you're going to do let's say a serial number trick with a bill, let's use the slotted lids for this. Again, in a mind-reading type effect, you would go into the audience. You'd have a preset bill, one of which you already know the serial number. That's preloaded in the box. You'd go out into the audience, and I'll show you the technique. They'd fold up a bill. It goes in the box. And very, very early on, this gets switched, and I'll show you how. And they see a bill and a clear box. You know the serial number of that bill. You can, of course, use business cards if you like to instead of slips of paper. Different things are written on the business cards. Using the techniques, all these cards are switched for duplicate business cards on which you have planted information you know. Playing cards, for a playing card effect, imagine having some force cards, all the same card, set on one side, maybe 10 cards. And you distribute the deck to maybe everyone in the front row, and everyone has cards, and they're examining their cards, and they're shuffling them. And you have, of course, the empty side showing. Now, everyone who's looking at their cards shuffles up their packet and gets to put one of their cards, into the box. So everyone in the front row is going to put cards in this box. It seems very, very fair. Now you bring someone up on stage. The switch is done. Apparently, they reach in and pick one of those cards that was just taken from the shuffled examined pile. You know the name of that card. If it's going to appear somewhere else, sometimes it's helpful to have duplicates. Appear and vanish objects? Absolutely. In Arthur Emerson's International Imports, he introduced a trick called the Pegasus page, which is performed very often by many, many magicians and mentalists. But Arthur Emerson, the brilliant man, came up with it, and it's in here. And there's many methods. The basic plot of that effect is from a paperback book. Someone says stop. They remember the page number, words on the page or images. You read their mind, and then, mixing mentalism and magic, the page vanishes from the book. It's torn out, and it appears in a surprising location. Well, there's many methods to the effect. I'll just give you a basic method. I don't want to steal someone else's method that they sell, because many people sell versions of this effect. But if you have a duplicate copy of the book, you take out one page, say page 250, stick it into the book, closer to the front than it would normally be. Glue it in there so it's nice and even, and short the page before. That'll allow you to go like this and stop and point to that page you stuck in there, 250. The real page 250, further on, tear it out with a nice jagged edge, and you'll produce this later. Now, when you do the effect, say stop, and you do a timing force. They look at page 250, they remember something on it, and you read their mind. How then do you direct them to the torn page? Say, how many pages are in that book? They look and say, 450. Well, go back to page, what was it? And they go to their page, and of course, it'll be torn out and missing because you've guided them to the torn section. because they're looking from the back. Anyhow, let's talk about my daughter's handwriting. How sweet. How sweet that I'm destroying a book she had in her childhood. How do we make something appear in here? Well, what I like to do is kind of sneaky. I have 2 business cards. I've signed them both so they match. On one side of the box, set the torn page with your business card on top. That's the side they don't see. Early on in the effect, you come up with a reason to put your business card in this box. By putting my signature here, it's like a thought catcher. And let it be mysterious. So they see your business card go in the box goes in the bag, and you do just what I said. As you cinch it, let it spin a little bit as you walk to the table, and now I look for my mark, and I know how to put that down on the table. So that has turned the box around. Now you perform the Pegasus page. They look, they go, my page is missing. Well, I had my thought catcher, remember? Now watch what happens. You open the bag, you take out the box, and under the signed business card is that page. And of course, if you put it in the book, it'll match exactly. So a very neat way to make something appear. Of course, something can vanish just as easily, such as a bill or a playing card or other, flat thing you want to have appear somewhere else. By now, you're probably wondering, how do you use this as a prediction chest? Well, it's one of the great applications, and it's the reason I source these very large rubber bands. In a confabulation type routine, and if you're unfamiliar with confabulation, the performer makes a prediction, which can remain in full view, in this case anyway, and then you get freely selected suggestions from the audience. And it could be one of anything. I mean, it takes a lot of forms. It's your birthday. What are the 3 gifts you got for your birthday? You're going shopping, you're in the grocery store. What are you putting in your cart? It's up to you. Confabulation is all about getting true, free information that proves correct in your prediction. So here's how you do it with this chest. You're going to need a couple of business cards that look the same. First, you make a dummy. You can look at people, talk to them based on your presentation. Are you getting their favorite color? Are you getting their favorite music group? Whatever it is. You're going to make your predictions, but again, it's a dummy, so it's really nothing has to be on here. And you put this into the chest openly. Mine's a black business card. White would read better, but you get the basic idea. Now, I like to put on these rubber bands to prove that this cannot be switched. And I like someone in the audience to help me. If not put them on, at least examine them. I go up there and say, here, give a pull on those, etc. I do that for an important reason. I want to go to that person again at the end of the effect when I need to effect the switch. But this now can stay on a table. In full view, they see a business card. And here, you know what? To make it easier for you to see, let's fold this so the white is on the outside. Yeah, you'll have a much clearer view of what a business card looks like in there. And most people's business cards are not jet black. So there you go. Here is a duplicate business card. Obviously, you're going to write on a white side. This is hidden behind a pad. And you have a pen. As people are calling out the different things, you write them on the pad and also write them, because behind the pad you open up your business card and you write them on your business card. So you double write each one, and now you have the job. How are you going to get this into that? After you've written all 3 things or 4 things that the spectators have called out, behind the pad you fold it back in half. It can be pre-folded so it's easy. And when you put the pad down or to show it, you have this in your hand. You don't have to feel guilty because you can immediately pick up the box and put it in that hand. So now everything is very, very clean, and that object of interest has never left their sight. The reason I went to the spectator at the beginning is so I can go to the spectator again at the end. This has been in full view. I say, could you please remove rubber band number 1? And while they're pulling on the rubber band, I introduce this into the slot. Yes, it lifts the bottom up a tiny bit. Doesn't matter. Off comes the first rubber band, off comes the second rubber band, and now we invite that person up on stage with us. And of course, as we invite the person on stage, through the techniques we discussed, this gets reversed. Now that person on stage can take out, open the card, read what's on, and of course it perfectly matches all those items that were called out freely by the members of the audience. What I like about this system is the act of going to that spectator in the first row makes it seem like more stringent conditions, while it's really the method. Being able to go there and having them take off the rubber bands themselves as you sneak that duplicate prediction into the bottom is all the cover you need, and it seems like you're being burned the entire time. And now the techniques. Ways to turn over this box live in front of your audience and have it not be suspected. The first is very, very simple. If you're in a situation where the audience is in front of you, you can come down to them with the box, and now you must return back to the stage, and as you turn, obviously you had a second there. So if your back is to the audience, you simply turn the box over, and it just takes a second, and because your back was to them, they could not see the moment when it happened. So dirt easy, but you can be even bolder. I call this technique the gesture because that's all it is. I like to do the switch when inviting someone up to the stage. So I'm holding the box with both hands. With my right hand, I take it from above as I talk to the person. And as I gesture, that's when it happens. My body covers that box for an instant as the hand goes like that. But because we're doing it in a gesture, and the body's giving you some cover, come on up, I think you should. It just happens. And all that, everything they saw previously, they still see. So the gesture, bolder than the turn, but very, very open and fair. The third technique, the table. If you work with a side table, that gives you excellent motivation and misdirection for turning over the box. You've taken the information, you need a place to put this box. Oh, fortunately, you have a table. Same thing, as you start to turn, the right hand takes it on the top, thumb underneath, and as you pull over that table, that's when the box is flipped. So that table acts as a very useful assistant in the switch. A fourth technique I call the spectator. I know, it doesn't look like a spectator. It looks like a chair, but it's a chair you can see through, and this will show you what you can do with a spectator. You can bring them up on stage without doing the work yet. And you're talking to them. As they come up here, you can say, move them down a little bit, so you can say hi to their friends, and you've done the work behind their back. They've become a wall that allows you to do that switch with no heat. A fifth technique is to use the bag that was specially made for this effect. I mark one side of the bag with a little bit of metallic marker right along the stitching so I can tell one side from the other. Insert the box into the bag as if protecting it from any kind of chicanery. Tie it, and now look, by giving it a little twist, the bag spins a little bit. I can see which side is marked and which isn't, and put the desired side upward on the table. So later, when I go, take the bag, open it up and remove the box, the work has already been done. A bonus technique, it's dirt simple. In this application, the box is behind your back, and they're putting whatever's going to be switched into the box while you're not even looking. Now, when you turn to face everyone, of course, it's a simple matter to turn over the box. Turn it over behind your back, the box comes out, and everything's been switched. Now, it should be said that it's possible to turn over the box behind your back using just one hand. It takes more practice, but it's very deceptive. So basically, you're in this situation behind your back. You ask for whatever's going to be borrowed, say a bill. You tell them to close the lid. Now you face forward, and with one hand you can turn over the box and then place it aside. The technique is this. You're holding the box like this behind your back. When the box is concealed, when I face forward, this is what is happening. And of course, now I can lay the box wherever the box is going to go. That's the crystal billet box. Obviously, I've just touched on the different ways you can go with this item. I hope you use it, and I hope it becomes a very special thing for you to use in your performances.